Welcome to Book Summary Podcast, your gateway to personal transformation. Each episode delivers big ideas from the world's most impactful books on mindset, productivity, and success, all in just a few minutes. Ready to turn knowledge into action? Let's get started.
Welcome to the deep dive. In a world that often feels relentlessly on, where distraction is a default setting and busyness is almost like a badge of honor, how do we truly find peace? How do we access that quiet, centered place within ourselves that allows for, deep thought, resilience, and maybe even genuine happiness?
It's a timeless quest, really. It's fascinating. You look back, ancient philosophers, spiritual leaders across so many cultures, and even modern high achievers, they've all pointed towards the same thing: stillness. So today we're doing a deep dive into Ryan Holiday's really insightful work, Stillness is the Key, to unpack this powerful concept.
Absolutely. And we've gathered, a real treasure trove of his insights. It spans everything from historical battles fought by Roman emperors to these quiet, focused moments of artists and athletes. Our mission today, it's to pull out the most impactful lessons, those aha moments that will help you, our listener, not just grasp what stillness is, but crucially, how to actually cultivate it in your own demanding life. We'll be looking at how stillness really influences our mind, our spirit, and our body, because, as you're about to hear, they are just profoundly interconnected.
Okay, let's kick things off with a pretty vivid scene from history. It really sets the stage for why mental stillness is just so vital. Picture ancient Rome, late 1st century AD. We find Seneca, the famous philosopher, and he's trying to work amidst just absolute chaos, noise everywhere.
Yeah, just imagine it. Weights dropping in a gym nearby, swimmers splashing, street vendors shouting, dogs barking, a constant, overwhelming racket. And on top of all that noise, his personal life was, under immense pressure. Financial threats, getting older, political enemies breathing down his neck, and the unpredictable whim of Emperor Nero hanging over him. Sounds a bit like our modern world, doesn't it? That feeling of being bombarded from all sides.
It really does. And what's truly remarkable is that Seneca, despite being besieged by all this external and internal turmoil, somehow found the serenity to think with exceptional clarity and to write these incredibly incisive essays. His secret. As he explained it, he had to force his mind to concentrate and keep it from straying to things outside itself. All outdoors may be bedlam, provided that there is no disturbance within.
That's powerful. So it's not just about blocking out noise.
Exactly. It's about achieving this profound inner calm. The Stoics had a word for it. Apatheia, not apathy like we mean it today, but a freedom from uncontrolled emotional disturbance, like building a mental fortress.
Right. So you can have unclouded judgment even when the world outside is going crazy.
Precisely. The belief is, if you can cultivate that peace within, you can navigate pretty much any external storm.
And Holiday makes such a compelling case that this isn't some, abstract philosophical thing or some soft New Age idea. He argues it's a desperate necessity for everyone.
Yeah, not just philosophers sitting in quiet rooms.
Right, from high-powered hedge fund managers to, overwhelmed parents just trying to get through the day. He even points to Abraham Lincoln during the absolute brutality of the Civil War, amidst 100 competing plans, widespread panic. Lincoln calmly identifies Vicksburg as the key to victory.
And that wasn't just a gut feeling. He'd done the work. Studied military strategy, pored over books.
Exactly. And with that certainty that comes from deep reflection, he saw what his advisors, even the enemy, had missed. That unwavering clarity, born of unrushed, undistracted thought, coupled with incredible equanimity, patience, that's what ultimately won the war.
It's an incredible example of stillness leading to decisive action.
It really is. So for you listening, think about those demanding situations in your own life, those moments where everyone else is reacting frantically. Could cultivating stillness be your key? Your way to see the whole chessboard, make those tough calls, manage your emotions, keep crucial relationships intact. It's about more than just managing stress, isn't it? It feels like it's about unlocking your highest capacity.
So how do we even begin to get a handle on this mental landscape? Where's the starting point?
Well, the first absolutely fundamental step, according to Holiday, is becoming truly present, just being right here, right now. He shares this extraordinary story of the performance artist Marina Abramovich. Her 2010 exhibition at MoMA, The Artist is Present.
Oh, I remember hearing about that. Incredible endurance.
Unbelievable. For 750 hours, spread over 79 days, Abramovich, who was 63 at the time, sat completely silently, just maintaining eye contact with 1,545 strangers, one after another.
Wow. Just sitting there.
just sitting. And many of the viewers were profoundly moved. People were crying, feeling completely seen, totally engaged. Her former lover, Ule, he just said her discipline. Well, he said, I have no thoughts, only respect.
And Abramovich herself, what she said about it is key. The proposition here is just to empty the self, to be able to be present. It's not about doing nothing. It's about being entirely in the moment. She couldn't let her mind drift, apparently. The person across from her would sense it immediately.
Imagine that pressure. Even hunger, discomfort. She couldn't let it disturb her or she'd break the stillness. Even thinking about how much time was left would just make the hours drag.
So the core message is, true presence isn't just passive observation. It's actively disengaging from all that internal chatter, those external demands, to fully inhabit the present. It can transform ordinary moments into something profound.
Right. And Holiday points out this irony. Many people waiting in line for her performance, they were zooming past other amazing art, fidgeting with their phones.
Completely oblivious to the ordinary wonderfulness right there around them.
Exactly, missing the point, and maybe missing life itself in that rush.
That's a really profound observation.
Holiday connects it beautifully to something Leo Tolstoy said, that love is only real if it's happening right now. And think about top athletes. They're completely within themselves, within the now, during those crucial moments.
Laser focused.
Totally. It's about not wasting precious mental energy regretting the past or spinning anxieties about a future that isn't even here yet. Instead, you learn to focus intently on what's directly in front of you. Like seeing the world as an artist might, noticing the tiny details of bird in flight, the way someone holds a fork, instead of your mind just racing ahead to tomorrow's to-do list.
And there are practical ways to cultivate this, right?
Absolutely. Meditation teachers always emphasize focusing on your breath. Just the simple act of breathing anchors you right here. Coaches constantly tell athletes, focus on the process, this play, this drill, this single rep. Even going way back, Jesus advised his disciples not to worry about tomorrow because tomorrow will take care of itself. The message is pretty universal. Be here, fully, completely.
Okay, so if being present is the goal, how do we actually protect that mental space? It feels so easily invaded.
Right. Well, consider Napoleon Bonaparte, of all people. He had this, frankly, brilliant strategy for managing information overload. He deliberately delayed responding to mail for 3 weeks.
3 weeks? Seriously?
Seriously, his secretary would just hold on to it. And apparently Napoleon loved seeing how many supposedly important issues just resolved themselves without him needing to do anything.
So he filtered by just waiting.
Exactly. He only wanted the really bad news immediately. So urgent, negative stuff could be dealt with. It sounds a bit eccentric, maybe, but it was incredibly effective at cutting through the noise.
You know, Napoleon's method, it really highlights a timeless problem, one that's just massively amplified now in our age of constant information. That CNN effect from the 90s, the 24-hour news cycle, that now applies to pretty much everything in our lives. Emails, social media, news alerts.
We tell ourselves we have to be on top of things, right? Constantly consuming it.
Yeah, but the deluge just overwhelms the mind. It leads to what Holiday calls analysis paralysis. You're so swamped with data, you just can't make a decision.
So what's the antidote?
Well, Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher, had some wisdom here. He said, if you wish to improve, be content to appear clueless or stupid in extraneous matters. It's not about actual ignorance. It's a conscious choice, deliberately filtering out the unimportant stuff to protect your mental clarity.
Okay, so it's about selective attention.
Exactly. The powerful insight here is that real mental freedom, real stillness, comes from figuring out what truly deserves your attention and then having the courage to say no to the rest. That's how critical insights can actually emerge from a quieter mind.
It's a crucial distinction, isn't it? Not ignorance, but intentional curation. Like adopting Napoleon's attitude, letting the trivial stuff just fade away on its own. The truly important issues, they'll probably stick around, they'll still need your attention. But the less significant things often prove themselves to be just that insignificant, or they just vanish.
And there's often an ego thing tied up in trying to stay on top of everything, every hot take, every industry rumor.
Right, we want to be the most informed person in the room.
But Holiday suggests flipping that. Dedicate your finite mental energy to the truly meaningful subjects. That protects your peace of mind and fosters a deeper clarity that only comes with that kind of stillness. Dorothy Day, the activist nun, she wrote in her diary back in '42, turn off your radio, put away your daily paper, read one review of events and spend time reading. She got it.
Even reading needs focus, though, right? There's that warning about book disease, just consuming without thinking.
Absolutely. We can definitely become our own worst enemies, just drowning ourselves in information. Think about Eisenhower during the war. He developed that famous Eisenhower box to sort tasks by urgency versus importance.
Urgent important matrix, yeah.
He realized so much of what screams for attention isn't actually important. And most of what is important, it's often not time-sensitive in that immediate panicky way. It allowed him to be proactive, not just constantly reacting. That's why gatekeepers for leaders are so vital. Presidents, CEOs, they limit access to protect that mental space for clear strategic thinking.
So it's about conscious information hygiene.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
We need to ask ourselves, how different would our decisions, our overall well-being be if we spent as much time listening to our own inner voice, our conscience, as we do to the relentless noise outside? Walker Percy wrote about people being afraid of the silence. But that silence, that's exactly where presence and truth can actually be found.
Okay, this brings us to a really compelling example of clearing the mind. Shawn Green, the baseball player. Back in 2002, he was in this massive hitting slump. His mind was just a total mess, doubts, anxieties, contract worries.
Yeah, the mental game in sports is huge. Yogi Berra's line, right? It's impossible to hit and think at the same time.
Exactly. So Green's solution, he leaned into Buddhist principles. He just worked on clearing his mind completely. Repeated the mantra, chop wood, carry water.
Just focusing on the task, the process.
Totally. He stopped thinking about the slump, the critics. He just planted his feet in the present, let his years of training take over, focused purely on the mechanics. In this key game, he's got 2 strikes on him. He described letting the wild horses of his racing thoughts just gallop past. Took a deep breath, emptied his mind, and then siak, a solid double.
Wow. And that broke the slump.
Big time. He went on this incredible tear, 11 hits and 13 at-bats, 7 home runs in just 3 games. Unbelievable. And even during that amazing streak, he consciously kept his mind clear, didn't let the congratulations or the pressure get to him. He just said, there's no sense in thinking now. His stillness was literally his key.
Okay, so emptying the mind, limiting inputs, that clears the path. But then how do we actually see what's on that path clearly?
Right. Deliberately slowing down. That's the next piece. Think about Mr. Rogers' intro, that blinking yellow traffic light. For over 30 years, almost 1,000 episodes, it was right there.
Such a simple image, but yeah.
It was this subtle yet powerful message. Slow down, be considerate, be aware. His whole message consistently emphasized that what's essential is invisible to the eye, reminding us that appearances deceive, first impressions are often wrong.
And this idea of slowing down, it isn't a contradiction to emptying the mind, is it?
Not at all. It's more like a complementary skill. We have to get better at thinking deliberately about the big questions, really understanding what's going on beneath the surface. Consider Khrushchev during the Cuban Missile Crisis. His near-fatal miscalculation, it came partly from a poor reading of Kennedy's resolve, combined with this rushed impulse to act aggressively.
Which brings up a really important question for all of us. How often do we make bad decisions because we're just reacting to shadows? Mistaking fleeting impressions for solid certainties, instead of slowing down to truly observe and analyze.
Exactly. Fred Rogers' message to adults was always so clear. Just think. Just be quiet and think. It'll make all the difference in the world.
The powerful insight here feels like slowing down the mind isn't about stopping thought, it's about deepening it, allowing for a more profound perception of truth and reality beyond just those surface-level reactions.
That's a critical distinction, and Holiday brings in the Zen master Hakuin here. Hakuin didn't want his students to think nothing. He wanted them to think really hard about these perplexing questions, these kōans, like, what is the sound of one hand clapping?
Questions designed to break the logical mind, right?
Precisely. They defy easy answers. They force the mind into this clarified state where deeper truths can actually emerge. They called it satori, a moment of sudden, profound enlightenment. Hakuin promised that through deep meditation on these, suddenly, unexpectedly, your teeth sink in. At the instant, it will all become clear. This kind of deep, deliberate thought is essential to grasp what's often invisible to just about everyone else.
Like Mr. Rogers' advice during tragedies, look for the helpers.
Exactly. He showed how to find comfort and goodness even amidst pain and anger, communicating it in a way that still brings peace. So for you listening, how much stress do you feel just comes from reacting instinctually, instead of acting with that conscientious deliberation? What satori moments might you unlock if you just gave yourself permission to slow down and truly look at what's happening inside and out?
Speaking of deep thinking and observation, you mentioned a tool that's really accessible for achieving mental stillness: journaling.
Yes, journaling. It's incredibly powerful. Picture Anne Frank. She's just 13, a refugee, and she gets an autograph book for her birthday in June 1942. She immediately knew it wasn't for autographs. It would be her journal, her confidant, Kitty, during those 2 harrowing years in hiding.
Writing to process everything.
Exactly. To reflect, to challenge her own thoughts, process overwhelming feelings. She famously wrote, "Paper has more patience than people." Her father, Otto, later says she often wrote when she was upset or confused, using it as a kind of self-therapy, trying to improve herself even with death constantly lurking just outside.
And it's a practice embraced by such a wide range of people throughout history, isn't it?
Amazingly diverse. From Marcus Aurelius, the emperor, and Queen Victoria, to Oscar Wilde, and even John F. Kennedy, he used doodling and notes to clarify his thinking, which studies actually show improves memory.
Michel Foucault, the philosopher, he called the ancient practice of hypnomata, basically notes to oneself, a weapon for spiritual combat.
A weapon. That's intense.
Yeah, a way to purge the mind of agitation, foolishness, to silence those barking dogs of internal noise and foster peace within. Seneca practiced nightly self-examination in his journal, finding the sleep afterward particularly sweet. The core takeaway seems to be that journaling provides this critical space to externalize internal chaos. It allows for objective reflection, emotional processing, and gives a clear path to self-improvement and peace, which really makes you ask, if so many brilliant and often struggling individuals relied on this simple tool, what's holding us back? Journaling offers that safe space for tough questions like, where am I getting in my own way? Or why am I so incredibly worked up about this?
And the research backs this up, right?
It does. Studies show journaling improves well-being after trauma, helps people recover from divorce. Psychologists often recommend it for breaking cycles of obsession.
It's about taking all that mental baggage, those racing thoughts, those half-baked ideas, and just putting them down on paper. The act itself creates distance, lets you examine them more objectively.
And there's no single right way to do it.
Absolutely not. The crucial point is just to do it. Eugene Delacroix, the painter, he picked up his journal again after a long break, hoping it would calm his nervous excitement. Julia Cameron called it spiritual windshield wipers, a break from the world's noise, a framework for the day, a way to cope with the past, and a spark for creativity. It's active mental hygiene that really invites stillness.
Okay, so in a world that feels like it's drowning in noise, cultivating silence, that becomes a pretty radical act, doesn't it?
Radically essential? Maybe. Think about the composer John Cage. Even as a young man, he advocated for a national day of quiet so people could actually hear what other people think.
Wow, a national day of quiet. Imagine that. Right. Back in a 1928 speech, he told his high school audience, "Wherever we are, what we hear is mostly noise. When we ignore it, it disturbs us. When we listen to it, we find it fascinating." He recognized and appreciated those subtle sounds we usually miss.
And his experience in that soundproof room, the anechoic chamber, that was revealing.
Absolutely profound. It was 1951, the most soundproof room possible at the time. And even in there, he heard 2 distinct sounds: his own nervous system humming and his blood circulating.
Just the sounds of being alive.
Exactly, which leads us to a really crucial point. How many of us have ever come close to reducing external noise to the point where we can literally hear the sounds of our own life? What breakthroughs, what insights might emerge from that kind of profound quiet?
In his most famous piece, For You 33 Euro, that was about silence, but not perfect silence.
Right. It was performed as uninterrupted silence. But Cage's point wasn't about achieving absolute silence, which is impossible outside a vacuum. It was about what happens when you stop contributing to the noise. When you do that, the accidental sounds of the environment, the rustle of clothes, distant traffic, your own breathing, become the music. Zeno, the philosopher, noted we have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. Listen twice as much as you speak.
So cultivating silence isn't just about the absence of noise, it's an act of discipline. It allows us to perceive what's truly important, both inside us and out there.
That's a powerful way to frame it, because so much of our lives today is defined by relentless noise. Headphones always in, screens always buzzing, notifications pinging constantly. People often prefer watching even a terrible movie on a plane, rather than just sitting in silence. We seem wired to avoid quiet thought.
But Thomas Carlyle nailed it. Thought will not work except in silence. We absolutely need to step away from those comfortable distractions, create genuine room for revelations, insights, new ideas to actually surface. Like that campy chapel in Helsinki, the Church of Silence. Just a quiet wooden sanctuary right in the middle of the bustling city, open to anyone needing a moment of peace.
And think about that study Randall Stutman did with top CEOs. How did they really recharge? Their most effective activities, sailing, long-distance cycling, scuba diving, they all shared one key element, an absence of voices. Exactly. These incredibly busy people found peace and revitalized their minds in moments without constant talk, where they could just think or just be, even while moving. It allowed them access to a form of stillness that profoundly recharged them. Which brings us back to the listener. What has the world been trying to tell you that you just haven't been quiet enough to hear yet? We all need to consciously cultivate these moments, limit our inputs, deliberately turn down the volume to access a deeper awareness of our own lives. The very rarity of true quiet today just underscores its immense value.
Okay, so if we manage to clear our minds, embrace some silence, what are we actually listening for? What's the goal of that quiet?
Ultimately, it's wisdom. Think about Socrates. The Oracle of Delphi famously called him the wisest man. Why? Not because he knew everything.
Right, it was because he knew nothing.
Exactly, and he constantly probed, asking, why do you think that? How do you know? His real and often annoying habit of questioning everything made him brilliant, but also incredibly challenging to be around.
Huh, I can imagine.
But that pursuit of wisdom, Sophia, in Greek, it's revered across practically every philosophical and spiritual tradition. Hebrews called it chokma, Muslims ikma, Buddhists prajna, Stoics, Epicureans, they all valued it immensely.
And what are the common threads in that pursuit?
The consistent themes are the need to ask those deep questions, to study diligently, to reflect profoundly, and crucially, to cultivate intellectual humility. Wisdom is fundamentally about seeing the big picture, accumulating experience, developing the ability to rise above your own biases and common intellectual traps.
Which leads to a really critical question for us today. Are we genuinely seeking true understanding, or are we mostly just looking for confirmation of what we already believe?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Tolstoy, for instance, he just couldn't fathom people who didn't read deeply. He said he couldn't understand how people could live without communicating with the wisest people who ever lived on Earth.
Contrast that with someone like Hitler.
Yeah, stark contrast. Hitler famously read history only to confirm his own twisted views. Holiday rightly dismisses that as not wisdom, or even stupidity. That's insanity. The core insight here really is that wisdom is cultivated through a humble, relentless pursuit of understanding. It means embracing doubt, learning from the vast tapestry of human experience, and that leads to a deeper, more settled clarity of mind.
That difference between seeking wisdom and just confirming bias is so important. And Holiday stresses finding mentors, right? Like Zeno, who heard Socrates' teachings read in a bookstore and immediately asked, where can I find a man like that?
Yes. It embodies that Buddhist idea of papaja to go forth on a serious path of study and experience. It means accepting challenges, even embracing failure, learning from mistakes to continually widen your perspective, deepen your understanding.
The truly wise are often still precisely because they've seen so much. They kind of anticipate what's coming because they've navigated so many trials and learned. They aren't afraid to sit with doubt, savor it even, follow where it leads, trusting that truth lies on the other side. So for you listening, are you willing to actively pursue that path, even when it means confronting things you thought you knew for sure?
Okay, so once we've started cultivating wisdom, how do we stand firm in our convictions without tipping over into arrogance? That's a tricky balance.
It really is. And Holiday draws this sharp contrast between genuine confidence and destructive ego. Think about the classic story of David facing Goliath. His confidence, it wasn't arrogance, it came from practical, hard-won experience. He'd killed lions and bears with his bare hands protecting his flock. He knew his strengths, and crucially, his weaknesses.
Right, like refusing the heavy armor because he wasn't used to it. That's self-awareness.
Exactly. He proceeded with this incredible degree of self-awareness, not bluster.
And when we look at this, we see that both extremes are obstacles to stillness. There's toxic ego. You think of figures like, well, Donald Trump, Alexander the Great, maybe Howard Hughes. Huge success, often coupled with miserable lives, driven by external validation.
A lonely conquest.
Right. And then there's the flip side, imposter syndrome. That nagging anxiety like Kafka's bank clerk felt or Shakespeare's thief, that you're not really qualified, that you'll be found out. It's almost entirely internal fabrication.
So the vital question becomes, what's the alternative to those two debilitating extremes? Where's the sweet spot?
And the powerful insight Holiday offers is that true stillness arises from simple, earned, rational, and objective confidence. It's a quiet strength rooted in self-awareness and competence, not in needing external validation or being crippled by internal doubt.
That's such a useful framework. Ulysses S. Grant is a great example. He cultivated this kind of quiet, calm self-confidence. His father was apparently quite egotistical. His mother had this quiet strength, and Grant emerged with this unshakable inner poise.
He faced huge setbacks, right, even after West Point.
Yeah, selling firewood for a living at one point. But he just stated matter-of-factly, I am solving the problem of poverty. He was utterly unshaken by difficulty, or later, by monumental success. Charles Dana said he was an unpretending hero whom no ill omens could deject and no triumph unduly exalt. He just didn't see his life through that lens of ego.
And Kennedy, during the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Same thing. His confidence didn't just come from charisma. It was hard-earned. Surviving his PT boat sinking in the Pacific taught him panic solved nothing, that he could rely on himself if he kept his head. He told himself no one would write the Guns of October about his handling of the crisis, because that part, his own calm, was something he could control. So it makes you ask yourself, doesn't it? Are you feeding insecurity or maybe delusions of grandeur? Or are you actively cultivating that quiet, unshakable confidence, the kind rooted in real strength and self-awareness?
Okay, so let's say you've cultivated wisdom. You found that quiet confidence. How do you maintain stillness when the pressure is really, truly on?
This is where the idea of letting go becomes incredibly important. Think about the great archery master Awa Kenso. He didn't focus his students just on hitting the target.
Right, he taught detachment.
Exactly. He told them to let the shot fall from you like ripe fruit. He called their intense desire to control the outcome willful will, this stubborn insistence on forcing the process. He believed that was precisely what held them back from true mastery.
And he said something like, the hits on the target are just proof of your purposelessness.
Yeah, only the outward proof and confirmation of your purposelessness at its highest, of your egolessness, your self-abandonment. Powerful stuff.
His teaching really raises a crucial point about mastery itself. He tells students, go on practicing as if nothing happened, whether they just hit a perfect bullseye or missed completely. When they pressed him for more instruction, his answer was always just, don't ask, practice.
Get lost in the process.
Yes. Be fully present, empty of expectation, open to what unfolds, rather than rigidly fixating on a specific mastery outcome. The lotus flower, it rises pure from the mud, but floats freely, unattached on the water's surface. It's that balance, engaged, yet detached.
Like Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita.
Precisely. Saying work done for wisdom is far superior to work done just for reward. Set thy heart upon thy work, but never on its reward. The powerful insight here is that true mastery and inner peace come not from controlling outcomes, but from fully immersing oneself in the process, trusting that focused effort, unburdened by attachment, will naturally yield the best results.
That idea of detachment is so counterintuitive for so many of us, isn't it? We're so results-oriented. Holiday brings it back to those earlier examples. Imagine if Kennedy had just obsessed over the Bay of Pigs failure. Let it paralyze him during the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Or if Shawn had frantically tried to intellectually reconstruct his perfect swing during his slump.
Exactly. That fear-based mindset, don't mess up, often leads directly to messing up. Instead, by letting go of specific, rigid results and just embracing the unfolding process, the individual steps, the diligent practice often, those vexing problems get solved. Those difficult targets come into reach. It's how Shawn Green's swing reconnected with the ball when his mind was clear, not forcing it. So, for you listening, how much willful will are you bringing to your efforts? What outcomes are you gripping onto maybe a bit too tightly? Could a conscious act of letting go actually allow you to perform at your peak and find a deeper, more sustainable peace? We've now journeyed through the mind, haven't we? Exploring how to cultivate clarity, presence, wisdom, and that crucial ability to let go. But Holiday is really clear. This alone, it's not enough. That mental stillness, as profound as it is, can be fleeting. We're kind of like Marina Abramovich's audience, moved for a moment by that deep connection. But then we tend to fall back into our old, unsettling routines.
Right. Why is that? Because other deep disturbances undermine us. Not just from the outside world, but from within. Our spirit and our physical bodies.
Yeah. The Bhagavad Gita says the mind is restless, hard to train, often opposed by craving.
Exactly. Holiday's central premise is that these three domains, mind, heart, or spirit, and body, they have to be in harmony. We can't achieve lasting peace if our hearts are consumed by inner fire or if our souls just ache with emptiness. So now we turn to the domain of the soul. This is where our happiness, our contentment, our sense of moderation are truly secured. It's less cerebral maybe, more deeply spiritual work. Because ultimately, it's our soul that holds the key to happiness or unhappiness, contentment or emptiness, and stillness or that internal perturbation.
Okay, as we dive into the domain of the soul, we encounter a really stark modern example, Tiger Woods. In 2008, he was at the absolute pinnacle of his career, just won his 14th major championship. But beneath that seemingly calm, focused exterior, these powerful, insatiable riptides of unrest were lurking.
Yeah, after his father's death, things really seemed to unravel internally, didn't they? His extramarital affairs escalated, injuries started piling up, his behavior grew more erratic. His mind on the golf course was still incredibly strong, but his soul clearly aching.
And that moment after his wife confronted him, it was terrifying. Sprawled out in a neighbor's driveway, his SUV crashed. Unconscious, his wife weeping over him, he was, for a moment, still in a way he had not been, perhaps since he was a baby. Just a devastating image.
And his upbringing, you mentioned, played a huge role in that spiritual wound. His father, Earl Woods, a complex, often contradictory figure, trained him using what were basically prisoner of war interrogation techniques, pushing him relentlessly to be a cold-blooded assassin.
That seems brutal.
It does. And Earl's own issues, narcissism, ego, dishonesty, his philandering, created this deeply troubled environment.
Yeah.
The code word Tiger could supposedly use to stop the intense training was enough. But it became the E word, something only quitters said, so he never said it.
Wow, and his mother's threat.
Yeah, you will never, ever ruin my reputation as a parent because I will beat you. It underscored that outward appearances were everything. Inner well-being, not so much. Which leads to that critical question. What's the true cost when external success is pursued so relentlessly that it comes at the profound expense of our spiritual well-being?
He became imperturbable on the course, but utterly miserable inside, tormented by this spiritual malady that just undermined any chance at real stillness.
Despite the phenomenal dominance, 14 majors, 140 tournament wins, run number one for 281 weeks.
Yeah, but the signs were there, weren't they? Throwing clubs, cutting people out of his life, that increasingly joyless sex drive, all signs of this inner sickness, imperturbable on the golf course and utterly miserable inside. He even fantasized about quitting golf to join the Navy SEALs, leading to these ill-advised risks like 10 parachute jumps in one weekend, injuring his knee in a military exercise, self-destructive tendencies that still affect him.
It really brings to mind that question from the Gospels. For what is a man profited if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul?
Exactly. Tiger himself later admitted the heavy toll. He said, "When you live a life where you're lying all the time, life is no fun." His mind was this finely tuned machine, but his soul ached. His life became this island of fame and achievement, yet in many ways he was a stranger to himself, a cautionary tale for our times.
So given that kind of potential downfall, how do we build a soul that's resilient? One that can withstand life's pressures and temptations?
Holiday suggests it really starts with a conscious choice for virtue. Think about Marcus Aurelius again, the Roman emperor, Stoic philosopher. He meticulously listed his epithets for the self.
Like personal commandments.
Kind of upright, modest, straightforward, sane, cooperative. These weren't just ideals, they were his core guiding traits as an emperor. The Stoics believed that virtue, or summum bonum, the highest good, was the guiding principle behind all right actions, and the ultimate source of soul power.
And this quest for virtue, it's truly universal, isn't it? You find it in the Tao Te Ching and Confucius's idea of the Zhenzi, the noble person, even in Epicurean philosophy, which saw virtue and pleasure as two sides of the same coin.
Inseparable.
Right. It's about cultivating this moral self-command that brings an unshakable stillness, a pure sense of rightness coming from the depths of your soul, which compels us to ask ourselves, what do you truly stand for? What are the core values you are genuinely living for?
It reminds me of that Canadian politician, Jagmeet Singh. When that angry, racist protester confronted him, he just calmly, repeatedly responded with love and courage. It completely shifted the energy.
A powerful example.
Yeah.
And then you contrast that with Seneca, wrote beautifully about virtue, but served the depraved Emperor Nero, made a fortune through questionable means, and eventually was forced into suicide by the very emperor he'd rationalized serving.
A real cautionary tale. Choosing virtue provides that unshakable inner compass, right? A moral foundation for stillness that transcends external circumstances and those ego-driven ambitions.
Absolutely. Seneca's story shows how relentless ambition can skew your decisions, cost you your peace, ultimately your life, all chasing money and power, even when you know better philosophically.
Holiday argues that while maybe lying and cheating seem like a quicker path to the top sometimes, virtue is actually a more attainable, more resilient, more sustainable way to succeed. Why? Because no one can stop you from knowing what's right?
Virtue offers a security that no external achievement or pile of money ever can.
It's about consciously building that moral code, something you'd rather die for than betray. Deep down, Holiday suggests, in the marrow of your bones, you already know what truly matters. But the relentless busyness of modern life often puts up a barrier between us and that innate self-knowledge. What would happen if you truly clarified your values, built that pole star that consistently guides you and brings a profound, abiding stillness to your life?
Sometimes, though, even if we want to choose virtue, something stops us. And often, Holiday points out, it's unaddressed wounds from our past, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Look at Leonardo da Vinci. As an illegitimate son, later disinherited by his father, his whole artistic life seemed driven by this search for an insatiable drive for an unconditional patron, reflecting that deep paternal abandonment.
So he kept moving, leaving things unfinished.
Exactly. Repeatedly uprooting himself, leaving commissions incomplete. His angry letters, those unfinished works, they almost seem to cry out, "You're not my dad. You can't tell me what to do. You don't really love me. I'll show you." He even served his first mentor, Verrocchio, for an unusually long 11 years, maybe seeking that stability he never got from his father.
You know, recognizing that can actually be incredibly liberating. The source of so much of our adult anxiety, our inappropriate reactions, our relationship troubles, often it isn't our rational adult self reacting. It's a hurt 7-year-old living inside us, unaddressed.
Which leads to that critical question. How much of our suffering stems from these unhealed wounds? Wounds that create this insecure, anxious, or perpetually persecuted lens through which we see the world.
We saw tragically with Rick Ankiel, that gifted pitcher. His career just shattered when all that repressed pain exploded. Years of stuffing down childhood abuse, especially after his father and brother went to jail. He just lost control on the mound during the playoffs.
Only therapy helped him find a new path.
Right. Reinventing himself as an outfielder, literally the position farthest from the pitcher's mound. The powerful insight here is really that acknowledging and healing past wounds is a profound act of self-love. It's essential for cultivating emotional balance, fostering mature responses, and breaking those cycles of suffering that just block stillness.
It's dangerous to create that emotional monster to protect the wounded inner child, isn't it? Like Judd Apatow, the movie producer. He realized he was fighting studio notes as if they were his meddling parents, just instinctively resisting everything.
Until therapy helped him see it differently.
Yeah, he understood it was a business transaction, not a parental battle. And that realization, it brought him immense stillness. De-intensified arguments helped him navigate professional relationships with much more calm. Thich Nhat Hanh, the Zen master, he really emphasized this. He said, after recognizing and embracing our inner child, we'll be able to see the roots of these mental formations. When we see the roots of things, our suffering will lessen.
Makes perfect sense. Gary Shandling, the comedian, traumatized by his brother's death and his mother's control, later developed a formula to overcome his pain, heal his inner child. Even JFK's issues, some analyze them as potentially rooted in his father's behavior and family dynamics.
So healing these core wounds isn't just self-help jargon. It's a profound act of self-love, absolutely vital for achieving balanced living and that deep spiritual stillness.
Okay, so if the inner child is healing, what else commonly blocks spiritual stillness? Holiday points pretty directly at desire, doesn't he?
He really does. Think about JFK again. Leading during the Cuban Missile Crisis, arguably the most dangerous moment in human history, and he's bringing a 19-year-old student to a hotel instead of being with his scared family.
It's hard to fathom.
His girlfriends later described his insatiable but joyless sex drive, driven mostly by a need to stave off boredom, often showing little real care for the other person, and seemingly deriving less and less pleasure himself over time. It's not a picture of stillness or glamour. It's a picture of someone spiritually broken, completely at the mercy of his worst impulses.
And lust, whether it's for sex, power, possessions. It's a powerful destroyer of peace. Holiday reminds us, someone enslaved by their urges isn't truly free, by definition, but maybe the most common, most insidious form of desire is envy, that lust for what other people have for the sole reason that they have it.
Joseph Epstein called it the only deadly sin that's no fun at all.
Exactly. And Democritus observed, an envious man pains himself as though he were an enemy. Which leads to a really profound question. How can anyone caught in the grip of envy or jealousy possibly think clearly or live peacefully? It creates this endless loop of misery. The millionaire envies the worker's simplicity. The famous person yearns for privacy. There's this immaturity to it, wanting what others have, while also wanting to keep everything you already have, even if it's impossible.
So the powerful insight is that uncontrolled desire, especially envy, is like this relentless inner fire. It just consumes peace and clarity, trapping us in a cycle of wanting that completely obstructs spiritual stillness.
That's a really strong image. Endless loop of misery. The Epicureans, they actively sought freedom from pain and agitation. They questioned if unbridled desire actually diminishes true value.
And Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita
Calls desire the ever-present enemy of the wise, like a fire that can never be satisfied, just consuming more fuel. Buddhists personified this destructive demon as Mara, constantly trying to tempt Buddha away from enlightenment.
Even Leonardo da Vinci depicted envy as lean, haggard, with a heart being gnawed by a swelling serpent. He said lust puts us on the level of beasts.
We don't necessarily need to become total ascetics,
Right.
but we have to recognize the immense pull desire has and how effectively it robs us of deeper peace.
So for you listening, what desires are actively pulling you away from a sense of deeper peace right now? Are you caught in that comparison trap? What would it really mean to examine those urges with a critical, still mind?
All right, so how do we actively push back against that endless pull of desire? How do we break the loop?
By cultivating this profound understanding of enough. There's that wonderful story about Kurt Vonnegut and Joseph Heller. Vonnegut was teasing Heller at a party, saying their billionaire host had made more money in a single day than Heller had earned from his masterpiece, Catch-22.
And Heller's reply was classic.
Absolutely timeless. He said, "Yes, but I've got something he can never have, the knowledge that I've got enough." Think about that contrast. Earl Woods, Tiger's dad, called enough the E word, like a curse word, something to be avoided. But Heller saw it as beautiful, liberating, bringing authentic stillness, deep satisfaction, freeing him from ceaseless wanting and the insecurity of comparison.
And realizing you have enough, that's deeply spiritual work, isn't it?
Right.
It can shatter illusions. John Stuart Mill, the child prodigy, he had that devastating breakdown at 20.
When he realized all his achievements wouldn't actually bring him joy.
Exactly. He said, "The whole foundation on which my life was constructed fell down." Many people only reach that realization after sacrificing so much time, money, inner peace, which prompts a crucial question. Are you trapped on a Sisyphean treadmill, where just as that feeling appears to be within reach, the goal is moved just a little bit farther up the mountain and out of reach?
That relentless, more, like a hydra satisfy one urge, two more pop up.
Right. The powerful insight here is that true contentment stems from recognizing sufficiency within. It liberates us from the endless chase for external validation or fleeting desires, providing a stable foundation for inner peace.
That's a liberating thought, and Eastern philosophies offer such deep insights here. Lao Tzu. When you realize there is nothing lacking, the whole world belongs to you.
The Dead Aging warns, the greatest misfortune is to not know contentment.
And Western philosophers too, like Epicurus, nothing is enough for the man to whom enough is too little, and Seneca. They knew accumulating piles of money or accolades doesn't automatically bring peace. Temperance is key. Gold medals, Grammys, huge bank balances. Holiday notes, they change nothing internally. More does nothing for the one who feels less than.
Like that Zen master Gensha said, immersed in water, head and shoulders underneath the great oceans, are yet how speciously we are extending our hands for water. We're often surrounded by what we need, yet still desperately grasping.
There's often this fear, isn't there, that contentment will just stop progress, kill ambition.
Yeah, but Holiday argues strongly against that. You can do good work from a good, peaceful place. Joseph Heller kept writing after Catch-22. John Stuart Mill had an enormous impact after his breakdown. Their motivations just became pure, rooted in being present, not in proving anything. So for you listening, what does enough truly look like for you? And how would accepting it genuinely free you? Free you to focus on purpose, maybe, instead of just perpetual striving.
Okay, so if we've started to grasp enough, how do we actively nurture our soul day to day, let it open up to joy and wonder?
Anne Frank, astonishingly, found a way even in the darkest circumstances. Hiding from the Nazis in that cramped attic, she found a profound cure-all in nature.
Just looking out that small attic window?
Yeah, at the blue sky, a chestnut tree, birds. She felt, as long as this exists, how can I be sad? She wrote, beauty remains, even in misfortune. If you just look for it, you discover more and more happiness and regain your balance. That simple act of observing nature was a vital source of peace and strength for her.
Incredible resilience.
And this profound connection to beauty, Holiday calls it ecstasis. Not just heavenly, but ecstatic. Something that allows us to step outside ourselves, outside our own worries. Rosalane Wilder described looking over a vast plateau and feeling emptiness was so perfect all around me that I felt a part of it, empty myself. A moment in which I was nothing at all.
Wow. Like dissolving into the landscape.
Kind of. And the Zen master Hyakujo, when asked about the way, he just extended his arms toward the serene fields at sunrise and said nothing. That was the way. Which leads us to ask, are we actively cultivating the poet's eye?
The ability to see beauty everywhere.
Exactly. Even in the mundane or the seemingly terrible, like Marcus Aurelius did. He found beauty in the cracks of baking bread, the low bend of ripe grain, even the foam dripping from a boar's mouth. Recognizing nature's process, even in dying, just as a ripened olive might drop.
So the powerful insight is that actively seeking and immersing ourselves in beauty, especially nature, offers a direct path to spiritual rejuvenation. It helps transcend personal worries and fosters this profound sense of connection.
Beautifully put. Edward Abbey famously said, "Wildness itself was music." The Japanese practice Shinrin-yoku, forest bathing, is now recognized therapy. Even Teddy Roosevelt, Mr. Rough Rider himself, found his greatest passions in quietly sitting on a porch with a book and birdwatching.
Professor John Stilgoe's advice for our age feels so relevant. Get out now. Not just outside, but beyond the trap of the programmed electronic age. Walk, stroll, saunter. Don't just jog or run. Just pay attention to everything.
And John Stuart Mill, after his breakdown, found immense peace and healing in Wordsworth's nature poetry, which was inspired by Wordsworth's own reflective walks.
It's ironic, isn't it? Genuine stillness feels so rare, yet the world offers this inexhaustible supply of beauty. So for you listening, are you letting the profound beauty of life just slip by in the rush? What simple acts of bathing in beauty could you integrate into your daily routine to calm and cleanse your soul?
Now, this next step could be one of the hardest, especially for very rational, intellectual people. Accepting a higher power.
Yeah, that phrase can be loaded for some. But in Alcoholics Anonymous, step 2 isn't necessarily about a specific God. It's about the profound act of surrender.
Admitting you are not God. You're not in ultimate control.
Exactly. It's about letting go of that willful will. Owa Kenzo talked about that pathological self-centeredness that often fuels addiction. The co-founder of AA, who described himself as a militant agnostic, deliberately phrased it as God as we understand him.
Leaving room for interpretation.
Right. Mother Earth, Providence, fate, destiny, whatever allows for that surrender.
And the Stoics, their higher power was the logos, the rational order of the universe, acknowledging the inevitability of fate and fortune. In Chinese philosophy, you have the Tao, the natural order. Confucius believed in Tian, a heaven that assigned purpose.
Across cultures, there's this recognition of forces beyond individual control. Whether it's the Greeks' demon, Hindus' Brahman, Jews' Yahweh, Native Americans' Great Spirit.
Though Epicurus, interestingly, rejected the idea of an overbearing God. He felt living in fear was incongruent with ataraxia, with tranquility. Which raises a critical question for our modern, often secular age. What happens when science and technology, trying to explain everything, inadvertently strip away our capacity for awe? For acknowledging forces beyond our immediate grasp, does it leave us, as Alexander Solzhenitsyn lamented, with a feeling of purposelessness, a despiritualized and irreligious humanistic consciousness that has lost the concept of a supreme, complete entity which used to restrain our passions?
That's a heavy thought, a comically unfair mismatch, Holiday calls it, trying to wrestle life's complexities with only our own minds.
Right. The powerful insight seems to be that surrendering to a higher power, however you understand it, offers profound perspective and humility. It quiets the ego and provides spiritual stillness in the face of life's immense, often overwhelming complexities.
Think about Stephen Colbert. Guided by deep Catholic faith, he survived a truly tragic childhood. Learned from his mother to look at this moment in the light of eternity.
Or historical figures like Martin Luther, Lincoln, JFK, all relied on some measure of faith to navigate incredible turbulence. Luther praying for hours before declaring, "Here I stand, I can do no other, so help me God." Lincoln, starting as an atheist, became a profound believer through the trials of war. Kennedy prayed during the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Holiday argues nihilism is just too fragile a strategy. This acceptance of something larger isn't about blind faith necessarily, but about overriding the mind's endless churn, quieting it by putting things in true perspective, rejecting the tyranny of pure intellect maybe, and inviting something bigger into your heart. So for you listening, are you ready to consider this step? To access the kind of spiritual stillness that might wait beyond purely rational control. Okay, if we're genuinely cultivating our spiritual well-being, one undeniable truth seems to emerge. We really can't do it entirely alone. Johnny Cash. Lonely, deeply depressed after his first marriage failed, just pacing his empty house. He had this sudden, profound realization. What was missing wasn't something, it was someone. His daughter, Roseanne.
And he just collapsed, weeping, calling her name.
Yeah, that raw anguish, that profound sense of connection. It seems almost the opposite of detached stoicism, doesn't it?
It does. And some people have tried to live solitary lives.
Yeah.
Right? Vows of chastity, solitude, dedicating themselves solely to work. Like Buddha leaving his family for enlightenment, believing it was necessary for a higher calling.
But Cicero asked 2,000 years ago, who is there who would wish to be surrounded by all the riches in the world, and yet not love or be loved by anyone? It hits hard.
It really does. Which makes us ask, can true, lasting stillness really be found in isolation? Marina Abramovich controversially said children would be a disaster for her art. But then you look at countless high achievers, Angela Merkel, Gertrude Stein, Marie Curie, J. Cole, John Stuart Mill, all tirelessly supported by partners who are absolutely vital to their success and well-being.
So the powerful insight seems to be that deep, meaningful relationships, though incredibly challenging, are profound educators for the soul. They compel us to grow in virtue, empathy, surrender, ultimately leading to a richer shared stillness.
That's a beautiful way to put it, because relationships, they undeniably demand time, they expose our vulnerabilities, they inevitably cause pain, they cost money.
True.
But we are profoundly nothing without them. They challenge and refine every single facet of our soul. They demand virtue, faithfulness, presence, empathy, generosity, that ultimate act of surrender. Holiday really emphasizes that the single best decision, professionally and personally, is often finding a partner who complements and supports you, makes you better, and you do the same for them.
Think of Brian Sweeney's incredibly calm voicemail to his wife from Flight 175 on 9/11, or Major Sullivan Ballew's heartbreaking final letter to his wife Sarah during the Civil War, or Dostoevsky describing his wife Anna as a rock on which he could lean and rest.
That profound strength and solace found in deep love, Freud nailed it. Love is the great educator. The words for love aren't just L-O-V-E. They're spelled T-I-M-E-W-O-R-K-S-A-C-R-I-F-I-C-E-D-I-F-F-I-C-U-L-T-Y.
Yeah. Your house might be quieter without kids, your work hours longer without someone waiting. But it's a hollow quiet, isn't it? An empty ease. Who will even care about your accomplishments if you've done it all alone? Stillness is best not sought alone. And like success, it's best when shared.
What happens, though, when those relationships fray, or when external events just trigger us intensely? Anger often erupts.
Oh, yeah. Michael Jordan, the legendary competitor, he frequently used resentment as fuel, right? Famously berating teammates Steve Kerr, Bill Cartwright, Kwame Brown, and opponents like Muggsy Bogues calling him that awful name.
Shoot it, you fucking midget. Terrible.
Awful. He even knocked a rookie, Matt Brust, unconscious in training camp back in '89. While that raw aggression might have fueled his performance sometimes, Holiday points out it was ultimately a form of madness that hurt him and his teammates.
Seneca called anger stupefying, nothing more bent on its own strength. It's fundamentally counterproductive, isn't it? It gives you that temporary burst of raw, destructive motivation.
But the long-term costs are huge. Frustration, damaged relationships, even physical harm like high blood pressure. Holiday reminds us of the often ignored costs. The drawer broken in a fit of rage, the person you yelled at becoming a lifelong enemy.
Which leads to a critical question. Are we honestly tallying the true cost of our outbursts? Or do we just convince ourselves that the momentary relief is worth the profound long-term damage? The powerful insight here is clear. Anger, while potent but fleeting as a motivator, ultimately destroys inner stillness and constructive relationships. Conquering it requires cultivating that conscious space between stimulus and response, choosing empathy over rage.
That's a crucial call for self-awareness. Buddhists described anger beautifully as a tiger within us, one whose claws tear at the body that houses it. Holiday suggests we need to actively look for those insertion points, that tiny, crucial space between something happening and our automatic reaction. That space allows us to walk away, pause, maybe just say, this doesn't matter.
Like Mr. Rogers' little song.
Exactly. It's great to be able to stop when you've planned a thing that's wrong and be able to do something else instead and think this song. As simple as it sounds, it's a powerful tool to avoid saying or doing something that will haunt you later.
Because people consumed by anger, they aren't happy, are they? They're certainly not still.
Not at all. We need to tame that inner tiger, choose a different fuel, a fuel that helps us win and build without hurting others, our cause, or our own chance at deep peace. For you listening, what fuel are you choosing to run on?
So as we start to conquer anger, desire, our spirit seems to open up to a larger truth, doesn't it? This sense of connection.
Yeah, absolutely. In 1971, astronaut Edgar Mitchell, gazing down at Earth from 239,000 miles away, he had this profound revelation. He felt an instant global consciousness, a people orientation, an intense dissatisfaction with the state of the world, and a compulsion to do something about it.
Seeing the bigger picture, literally.
Totally. All the petty squabbles, all the perceived differences, they just fell away, leaving him with this overwhelming sense of all is one. He famously wished he could just drag every self-serving politician up there to see it.
And this understanding that we're all interconnected. The Greeks called it sympathia, whether it comes from space or religious epiphanies or deep meditation. It's truly transformative.
Oh.
It allows us to shed selfishness, appreciate the unique originality of others, like John Cage did with his music, and practice mid-Freud actively wishing goodwill and happiness to others instead of schadenfreude, taking pleasure in their misfortune.
Robert Greene emphasizes that shift, and the French saying, tout comprendre c'est tout pardonner, to understand all is to forgive all.
Right. Which leads us to ask, how much of our personal disturbance, our inner turmoil, stems from seeing ourselves as fundamentally separate, instead of as an integral part of this vast interconnected whole? We share fundamental feelings, joy, pain across all people, all time, from the person walking home after an argument to the mother worrying about her child.
So the powerful insight is that recognizing our universal interconnectedness transcends individual ego, fosters deep compassion, and unlocks a profound, expansive spiritual stillness that permeates everything.
And that sense of connection, it extends beyond just humanity, doesn't it?
It does. The philosopher Martha Nussbaum asks what it truly means to be alive or to exist, period. Emphasizing our shared DNA, the air we breathe, the land beneath our feet with billions of other sentient beings, we're inextricably intertwined, our fates are linked.
Peace, Holiday suggests, comes when we realize victory and defeat are almost identical spots on one long, continuous spectrum of experience.
Which motivates us to treat every living thing well. Because, in a very real sense, it's a way to treat ourselves well. It compels us towards goodness. For you listening, how would your perspective shift if you consciously cultivated this profound sense of universal connection? What stillness would emerge if you truly understood that you are all strands in a long rope that stretches back countless generations and ties together every person in every country on every continent? So we've journeyed through the mind, seeking clarity. We've explored the spirit, striving for inner peace and purpose. But Holiday is absolutely clear. This isn't the complete picture, is it?
Not at all. Our three domains, mind, heart, and body, they must exist in profound active harmony. A body that's overworked, abused, neglected, it creates this deep turbulence that inevitably ripples through every other aspect of our lives.
You can't have a still mind in a chaotic body.
Exactly. We have to actively strengthen and care for our bodies, understand them as the essential physical vessel for our minds and spirits, subject to the whims of the physical world. We have to truly move and live our way there.
That ancient Latin phrase, mens sana in corpore sano.
A strong mind and a strong body. It's an enduring truth. When we say someone showed so much heart, we often mean tenacity, grit, which fundamentally comes from the backbone, the physical body. A body that's overworked or abused can never truly achieve stillness. It generates this persistent turbulence that inevitably disrupts our mental and spiritual peace. So now we turn to the final domain of stillness, the body, focusing on its habits, actions, and crucial self-care. It's like a holy trinity. Each part supports and influences the others. It takes our body to get our mind and spirit right, just as it takes our mind and spirit to get our body there.
Okay, as we dive into the domain of the body, we start with a really intriguing figure, Winston Churchill. A man of just immense accomplishment. Combat at 21, over 40 books written, 500 paintings, prime minister during World War II.
An incredible life.
Absolutely. And when asked his secret to longevity, he famously replied, conservation of energy, never stand up when you can sit down and never sit down when you can lie down.
Sounds like laziness, but it was it?
Yeah.
Not at all. It was a deliberate, strategic approach to avoid burnout, to maintain his profound spark of joy. It reflected this careful balance of stoic determination and maybe Epicurean simple pleasures.
His life really exemplifies that balance. Rigorous discipline combined with joie de vivre. He was a man of intense passion, putting his body into action not just for war, but even in his marriage. And he maintained this meticulous physical routine that allowed him to be just gaspingly productive. Specific bath temperatures, 2-hour reading sessions, precise working blocks, and that critical 3 p.m. 2-hour nap.
He managed to publish 7 books during World War I alone.
Incredible, which really raises a crucial question for us. How much of our own energy, our physical and mental reserves, is just squandered by inefficient physical habits, or by simply ignoring our body's clear signals when it's telling us to slow down?
Okay, so if Churchill masterfully conserved his energy, how do we actively say no to protect our vital reserves from just being drained away?
Holiday brings us to Fabius, the Roman general famously known as Fabius Cunctator, the delayer.
Right. When facing Hannibal, who was just devastating Rome, Fabius chose this radical strategy. Basically do nothing.
Seems counterintuitive in war.
Totally. He believed Hannibal would eventually wear himself out. The Roman mob, desperate for action, called him a coward. His impatient subordinate, Minucius, pressured by public opinion, rushed to attack.
And was annihilated.
Exactly. Fabius's wisdom, that power of wu-wei non-action, ultimately saved Rome after the horrific bloodbath at Cannae. It proved his method of patiently wearing down the enemy was brilliant. Fabius was exceptional for what he didn't do.
And this principle of strategic non-action, it applies everywhere, doesn't it? Dr. Jonathan Fader, the sports psychologist for the Mets, teaches rookies the power of waiting for the perfect pitch. Don't swing at everything.
Sadaharu, the great Japanese slugger, mastered that power of the void, wu-wei, incredible discipline to hold the bat back, waiting for just the right moment.
And JFK used time itself as a tool during the Cuban Missile Crisis, deliberately carving out space for thought, letting the Russians de-escalate. Tiger Woods, tragically, lost that ability to say no, succumbing to his addictions, which leads to that critical question. How often does our impulse to just do something, anything, lead us into traps and exhaustion that we could have entirely avoided by simply waiting, by having the courage to say no?
Joan Rivers, even late in life, feared an empty calendar. She said, if my book ever looked like this, it would mean that nobody wants me. That highlights a deep fear of inactivity, doesn't it?
It does. The powerful insight here is that saying no is a courageous act of self-preservation. It's strategic non-action that protects our energy and clarity, allowing us to direct our efforts towards what truly matters.
That's a powerful connection between Fabius and our modern anxieties. Someone who thinks they only matter if they're constantly doing something, they deprive themselves of vital stillness, close themselves off from a higher plane of performance. Holiday urges us to cultivate the strength to say no. No, sorry, I'm not available. No, I think I'm going to wait and see. No, I don't actually need that.
Yeah.
We have to constantly ask, what am I really being asked to give here? Because the answer is often a piece of your precious life, which you can never get back.
So pause before agreeing.
Yes. Take a moment. Genuinely ask, why does this matter? Do I truly need it? What are the hidden costs? Will I look back years from now and be glad I did this? If this request just disappeared, would I even notice? When you know what to say no to, you gain the freedom to genuinely say yes to the things that truly resonate. What profound peace might you gain by deliberately choosing non-action, by adopting a Fabian strategy in your own life?
Okay, if saying no protects our energy, how do we then purposefully use that energy? Move our bodies in a way that actually fosters stillness.
Right. Søren Kierkegaard, the famously cantankerous Danish philosopher, he walked the streets of Copenhagen almost every afternoon, often zigzagging just to stay in the shade.
A dedicated walker.
Absolutely. He wrote to his sister-in-law back in 1847 with such profound insight. Every day I walk myself into a state of well-being and walk away from every illness. I have walked myself into my best thoughts. He deeply believed sitting still was just a breeding ground for illness, physical and mental.
And he wasn't alone in that conviction, was he? So many brilliant minds found insights while walking.
So many. Nietzsche, Nikola Tesla, who apparently discovered the rotating magnetic field during a walk, Hemingway, Darwin, Steve Jobs, Martin Luther King Jr., Walt Whitman, Grant, Freud, Mahler, Beethoven, Dorothy Day. The list goes on.
Daniel Kahneman, the psychologist, said he did his best thinking on leisurely walks with Amos Tversky, believing physical activity literally got his brain going. Even Jesus was fundamentally a walker. Which leads us to ask, how does this simple repetitive motion unlock a different kind of stillness? A walking meditation, like Kinhin in Zen.
It's not primarily about burning calories, is it?
No, not mainly. It's about active presence, detachment from internal chatter, truly noticing the world around you. The powerful insight seems to be that walking offers this unique form of active stillness, a portable sanctuary for the mind and body that unlocks creativity, reduces stress, and fosters profound insight.
That's such a powerful and incredibly accessible idea, and science now confirms what these thinkers just knew intuitively. Walking increases blood flow to the brain.
Improves creative thinking.
Can be as effective as medication for depression. The studies are there. William Wordsworth walked an estimated 180,000 miles in his lifetime, composing poetry as he went, repeating lines until he could write them down.
He wondered if it was the scenery or the movement that sparked the thoughts.
And concluded it was magically both. So, for you listening, when you feel that pull of responsibilities, that urge to check your phone, maybe push yourself a little further on that walk. Get truly lost in it. Be unreachable. Go slowly. Stress and difficulty, they knock us down. Instead of just absorbing it or picking a fight, what if you simply put on your shoes and went for a walk? What troubling thoughts might you literally walk away from? And what unexpected new insights might just appear in their place?
All right, so walking centers us. But how do we structure our entire day to cultivate that lasting stillness?
Routine becomes key here. Think about Mr. Rogers again, his iconic entry ritual. Singing the song, meticulously hanging his jacket, putting on the cardigan and slippers.
It was almost like a ceremony.
Exactly. It wasn't just for TV. It was this deliberate, almost sacred routine that allowed him to be fully present. It prepared him mentally and spiritually to connect with and teach those kids. It was his bulwark against chaos.
And you see this in high-pressure fields too, right? Athletes, performers.
Totally. Russell Westbrook, the NBA star, he has this precise 3-hour pregame routine. Visiting the arena chapel, eating a specific PB&J sandwich, cut diagonally at a specific time.
People call them superstitions, but maybe it's deeper than that.
Rafael Nadal, known for his meticulous routines, lining up his water bottles perfectly, he explained it. He said, "It's a way of placing myself in a match, ordering my surroundings to match the order I seek in my head." Confucius insisted his mat be straight before sitting. A baseball coach, Jim Schlesnagel, taught players to keep lockers spotless. The poet Rilke had specific pens for different writing. Monks use bells, incense. Observant Jews have the Sabbath.
These practices aren't about rigid control then.
No, it seems they're about creating this profound bulwark against chaos. Which raises the question, how does building these conscious routines, these sacred habits, create predictability and order that actually frees up our best selves for deeper focus and creativity?
The powerful insight feels like well-constructed routines act as a mental and spiritual sanctuary. They automate the trivial to conserve energy and create space for intentional focus, making good work and good thoughts almost inevitable.
That's a great way to put it, a sanctuary against chaos. William James, the psychologist, talked about making habits our allies. By automating the trivial stuff, making virtuous decisions automatic, we liberate huge resources for important exploration. We effectively buy ourselves more room for peace and stillness. It's not about micromanaging every second. It's about strategically simplifying life so that good work, good thoughts become more accessible, even inevitable. Holiday uses that beautiful analogy of Japanese flower arrangers.
Orderly, quiet, focused, clean.
Deliberate. Not working in noisy coffee shops or in a frantic rush. A true master has a system. It turns the ordinary into the sacred. So for you listening, how much needless urgency, how much sheer exhaustion do you create by not having established routines? What conscious habits could you start building today to protect your mind and spirit? Make good work and good thoughts a natural, flowing part of your life.
Okay, after establishing routines, what other physical elements might still be tying us down, disrupting stillness, possessions?
Yeah, our stuff. Holiday recounts the story of Epictetus. Born a slave, became a Stoic philosopher. He prized this iron lamp he'd worked hard to earn until it was stolen.
And his reaction was pure stoicism.
Textbook. He apparently laughed and said to himself, "The thief was more powerful than you are at being on the watch, and then, a fine thing to lose a lamp for, I can buy another." He utterly refused to let a mere possession disturb his inner peace.
Seneca, who was incredibly wealthy himself, warned about the rich man whose vast estates end up lording over him. The ancient Chinese philosopher Sun Tzu said, "The gentleman makes things his servants. The petty man is servant to things."
These ancient insights still hit home, don't they? Our mental and spiritual independence means little if our physical possessions end up owning us.
We don't all need to become cynics, abandoning everything. But we should constantly question what we own, why we own it, and whether we could genuinely do without it. Think about a house being demolished, a lifetime of accumulation reduced to just debris. Even the super wealthy feel only a few more dumpsters than the average person, which leads to that question. How much does our mental and spiritual freedom truly matter if our stuff becomes a source of anxiety, maintenance, obligation, ultimately owning a piece of us?
The powerful insight seems to be that shedding unnecessary possessions is an act of liberation. It reduces external demands and creates essential physical and mental space for cultivating inner stillness.
Holiday calls it comfort creep, right? How easily we get used to conveniences and that our minds lie, telling us we need more.
Exactly. Monks and priests take vows of poverty precisely for fewer distractions, more room for spiritual pursuits. John Boyd, the brilliant military strategist, refused big checks from defense contractors, lived incredibly simply. He said, "If a man can reduce his needs to zero, he is truly free."
Tennessee Williams called luxury the wolf at the door. Not possessions themselves, but the insidious dependency on them.
We don't have to go that far, maybe. But the more we own, the more we have to oversee, maintain, worry about. It reduces our freedom to move, our capacity for stillness. A practical first step. Just start filling trash bags with unused stuff, give things away, clear out a closet. Think about those families working constantly to pay for huge houses with empty rooms they never use.
You were born free of stuff.
Right. Are you adding unnecessary links to your own chain? Are you maybe in love with possessions instead of people and experiences? What would it truly feel like to clear out the physical clutter, make profound space for genuine inner peace? And with less stuff weighing us down, we naturally create more space, physical space, mental space, space for solitude. Leonardo da Vinci wrote this fable apparently to himself about a stone. It grew restless in a peaceful grove, decided to roll down to the busy road.
And regretted it.
Big time. On the road, it was constantly trod upon, shipped away. It deeply regretted the solitary peace it had so carelessly abandoned. Solitude, Holiday reminds us, isn't loneliness. It's a profound, intentional choice, a self-created stillness.
And Leonardo himself practiced this. He worked alone in the monastery before his assistants arrived for the Last Supper. Took long, solitary walks with his notebook.
General James Mattis made that sharp observation about modern leadership. If I was to sum up the single biggest problem in the information age, it's lack of reflection. Solitude allows you to reflect while others are reacting.
So true. Breakthroughs, insights. They often happen in the quiet of a shower, a solitary hike. Not in noisy bars or during TV binges. Which makes you ask, how much clarity, how much genuine insight are we missing because our lives are just a constant party? Our homes a perpetual construction site of activity and distraction.
If, as Edward Gibbon famously put it, solitude is the school of genius, then maybe the ceaseless bustle of the world is, as Holiday puts it, the purgatory of the idiot. Ouch.
A bit harsh, but it makes a point. The powerful insight is that intentional solitude is a necessary discipline for profound reflection. It allows for mental restoration, deeper self-awareness, and the emergence of creative breakthroughs.
Thomas Merton, the Trappist monk, found his life's vocation in silence and solitude, lived in a monastery for 27 years, and through that intentional withdrawal produced incredible insights into the human condition, actively explored himself, societal problems, found a true and special vocation in belonging completely to such silence. He wrote about mornings spent in prayer and work.
And even in the modern world, Bill Gates takes his Think Week twice a year, isolates himself in a cabin, reads hundreds of papers, writes long memos.
He emerges recharged and refocused, reading for hours, writing, just taking breaks for brid or walks.
As Thomas à Kempis wrote centuries ago, everywhere I have sought peace and not found it, except in a corner with a book.
We all have responsibilities, obviously, but our effectiveness in fulfilling them will likely be enhanced by our temporary disappearance into solitude. You'll carry back patience, understanding, gratitude, fresh insight. Even if complete solitude isn't feasible, consciously grab those moments. Before the house wakes up, late at night, in a quiet hotel room. Cultivate the solitude within yourself. That's where true wisdom often speaks loudest.
Okay, but even with solitude, we can still fall into that trap of just overwork, right?
Yeah.
Driving ourselves too hard.
Absolutely. Consider Queen Victoria and Prince Albert, exceptionally dedicated royals, committed to their duties, but their overlove of business became, as someone noted, a fatal vice.
Albert worked himself sick.
Literally. He worked so relentlessly he occasionally vomited from sheer stress, died tragically young at 42 from Crohn's disease severely exacerbated by extreme stress. He worked his guts out, as Holiday puts it. Writing before the Great Exhibition of 1851, I am more dead than alive from overwork.
It's a tragedy that echoes today, isn't it? With terms like karushi in Japan, guaroza in Korea, death from overwork.
Elite athletes, too. More often sidelined by overuse injuries now, not collisions. Michael Phelps retired initially due to burnout, despite all the gold medals.
And Eliud Kipchoge. Arguably the greatest distance runner ever,
Yeah.
he consciously trains at only 80–90% of his full capacity.
A deliberate strategy for longevity.
Exactly. To preserve his longevity and sanity, saving maximum effort for race day. When Phelps eventually returned after his burnout, he approached training with a much more balanced perspective. Which leads us to ask, are you a workhorse destined to collapse from exhaustion? Or are you strategically pacing yourself for the marathon of life, understanding that sustainable effort yields greater long-term success?
That Russian proverb is blunt. Work just makes you bent over. It doesn't truly make you free.
Right. The powerful insight is that sustainable performance and lasting well-being require intentional pacing, recognizing our physical limits, prioritizing recovery over relentless exertion.
That chilling lie, Arbeit macht frei. Work sets you free over the gates of Auschwitz serves as a dark reminder. We all have duties, talents, gifts, but we simply won't fulfill them effectively if we consistently neglect our own well-being. Good, clear decisions are rarely made when we're running on empty. We end up working more just to fix errors made from sheer exhaustion. We risk losing vital relationships because we're stretched too thin, emotionally and physically.
Like the American tall tale of John Henry. Beats the machine, but dies of exhaustion. A tragic trade-off.
Exactly. Albert's children surely would have traded the grandeur of the Great Exhibition for more time with their father. The email can wait. The screenplay doesn't need to be rushed. Usually, the only one demanding you stay late is you. What kind of rich interior life can you possibly have when you're utterly overworked and depleted? It's okay to say no, to opt out, to be a human being, not just a beast of burden. Your body is the physical vessel for your mind and spirit. Treat it with reverence, with stillness.
And if pacing is key for the body, then sleep. That seems like the ultimate non-negotiable act of self-care, doesn't it?
Absolutely fundamental. Consider Dov Charney, the controversial founder of American Apparel. He prided himself on being totally accessible, even gave out his personal phone number.
An open-door policy taken to the extreme.
Totally. As the company grew, he started sleeping only a few hours a night, eventually almost not at all, which led to increasingly erratic behavior, pervasive micromanagement, and ultimately catastrophic business failure. He was, by many accounts, cognitively impaired as a drunk person, literally moved into the warehouse, mainlining caffeine until he was finally ousted from his own company.
So many people boast, "I'll sleep when I'm dead." But tragically, they often hasten that very death by neglecting sleep.
Schopenhauer put it so well. Sleep is the interest we have to pay on the capital which is called in at death. Adding, the higher the interest rate and the more regularly it is paid, the further the date of redemption is postponed.
Wow. And Ariana Huffington, after breaking her cheekbone from sheer fatigue, she had that profound realization. There is absolutely no glamour in working yourself to the bone. Which makes you ask, when our body is constantly battling for survival, drawing relentlessly on dwindling reserves, how can our mind and soul possibly be at peace?
That 2017 study linking lack of sleep directly to negative repetitive thinking, it's clear evidence. Abusing the body inevitably leads the mind to abuse itself.
So the powerful insight is unavoidable. Sleep is not a luxury. It's a fundamental biological necessity, a form of meditative stillness essential for physical restoration, cognitive clarity, and emotional resilience.
That connection between sleep deprivation and negative thoughts is so compelling. Sleep is truly the other side of work, the essential recharging of our internal batteries. It is, in essence, a meditative practice, stillness built right into our biology.
Anders Ericsson, from the 10,000-hour study, found master violinists consistently slept 8.5 hours a night and took naps.
Churchill lauded the life-giving powers of the siesta, and Zen master Hakuin, before delivering an epic lecture, slept so profoundly for over a month his snores reverberated like rumblings of thunder, then woke up and dictated the whole talk with perfect clarity.
We have only so much energy for work, relationships, ourselves.
Right, so for you listening, do you treat sleep as a dispensable luxury or as a non-negotiable necessity? What chaos, what errors, what unhappiness are you inadvertently inviting into your life by neglecting this fundamental biological need? Protect your sleep. You protect your ability to be great, clear, and truly still. Okay, beyond prioritizing sleep, how else do we actively regenerate our physical and mental energy?
William Gladstone, who served 4 terms as British Prime Minister, had this rather unusual, quite vigorous hobby: chopping down huge trees by hand.
Seriously, chopping down trees?
Yeah. He found the process so physically consuming, he said he had no time to think of anything but where the next stroke of his axe would fall. It wasn't just exercise. It was this profound mental release valve, a relief from the relentless pressures of politics, where every effort was constantly judged.
Wow. That's intense leisure.
And the ancient Greek word for leisure, skola, it actually means school. Historically, it meant freedom from obligations, time dedicated to intellectual or creative pursuits. A sacred notion, really. As society changed, it expanded to all sorts of activities, reading, woodworking. Jesus fished with his disciples. Seneca wrote of Socrates playing with children. John Cage hunted mushrooms.
The swordsman Musashi painted, Hakuin did calligraphy, Chris Bosch codes, Einstein played the violin.
Right. Dr. William Osler advised medical students to seek peace in the great pacifier, Shakespeare. Which leads to the question, how does engaging in pursuits without external justification, no pay, no need to impress, maybe no tangible outcome, how does that replenish and strengthen the soul and body?
The powerful insight seems to be that true hobbies offer a space for effortless engagement, a form of active stillness where the body is busy, but the mind and heart are liberated, fostering creativity and profound restoration.
That's a lovely way to put it, effortless engagement. Leisure in this sense isn't just the absence of activity. It's activity where the body is purposefully busy, but the mind and heart are open, flowing at ease. It's an invaluable chance to practice stillness in another context. Composed and at ease, like Confucius was said to be, even in casual moments. Zunzi wisely said, if an action tires your body but puts your heart at ease, do it.
But there's a warning here too, right, about escapism.
Crucial distinction. When a relaxing activity becomes a compulsion, it stops being true leisure. Because you're no longer freely choosing it. It just becomes another demanding job, another thing dominating you.
But there's nothing to feel guilty about for being idle in this productive, restorative way. It's an investment, nourishment with no other purpose than itself. So for you listening, what hobbies could you cultivate? Things that genuinely challenge and relax you, allow you to reveal what kind of person you are in a state of true presence, free from external pressure. Okay, so if true hobbies bring stillness, what happens when we misuse activities just to flee, to escape our lives?
John Fonte, the novelist. After his book, Ask the Dust, failed initially, he found many ways to numb the pain. Hours of pinball, a habit immortalized in a play by Soroyan. Drinking heavily with Fitzgerald and Faulkner. Turning his wife into a golf widow.
He pissed away decades not writing.
Exactly. Because it felt easier than battling those internal demons that often fueled his best work. This wasn't leisure. It was desperate escape from real life. A temporary reprieve, but at a very high, ultimately destructive cost. Johnny Cash, after his first marriage, failed, just asking for a plane ticket wherever the next plane will take me. Anywhere to escape the anguish.
The frenzied or miserable often mistakenly think escape literal travel. Chemical diversion is a positive good, don't they?
Yeah. Mix and watch nearly 500 movies in the White House, maybe running from the darkness inside and out. Tiger Woods' addictions were partly an escape from deep childhood pain. But each time he flew to Vegas instead of confronting his inner turmoil, he just set himself up for more pain later.
Each time Fante hit the golf course instead of the typewriter, a cost to his talent, his peace.
As Holiday puts it so powerfully, you can't escape yourself. Anyone who's traveled long enough knows this. Ralph Waldo Emerson nailed it too. Those who travel to solve problems just bring ruins to ruins because your sad self comes along. Which leads to that tremendous question. When that temporary rush, that diversion, wears off, what's actually left?
The powerful insight feels unavoidable. True peace and clarity are found within, not in distant escapes or fleeting distractions. Those only offer temporary relief at the cost of genuine engagement with yourself and your life.
The ancient Chinese philosopher Mengzi taught, the way is near, but people seek it in what is distant.
And Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself, we don't need to get away from it all, we just need to look within. Nowhere you can go is more peaceful, more free of interruptions than your own soul.
Wow.
A plane ticket, a pill. They might offer a moment's detachment, but it's a treadmill, not a shortcut to lasting peace. So the next time you feel that powerful urge to flee, consider a different path, go for a walk, seek solitude, find quiet right where you are, travel inside your heart and mind, take a quick visit inward to ward off those external pressures. If true peace and clarity are what you genuinely seek, know that you will find them nearby, not far away. Build a life you don't feel the need to escape from. What profound truths might be waiting for you to simply stand in place and truly tune in?
So all this work, mental, spiritual, physical self-care, it all leads somewhere, right? It culminates in action.
Yes, ultimately, brave action. Albert Camus's novel, The Fall, it tells the story of Clemens, this respected lawyer. One night, he hears the cry of a woman drowning beneath a bridge, and he does nothing.
Just walks on.
Just walks on. And this profound moral failing slowly unravels him. He believed he was a good man. But when the moment truly called for goodness, he slunk off into the night. The haunting cry of that woman torments him. He realizes he'll never be at peace again, having failed when it mattered most.
Such a powerful narrative, and it stands in such sharp contrast to the life and death of Anne de Formentel, the French philosopher who, in 2017, age 53, tragically died rushing into the surf to save 2 drowning children who weren't even her own.
She had written that life is risk, that in danger we discover strong incentive for action, dedication, and surpassing oneself.
Which leads to that critical, maybe uncomfortable question. What is truly better? To live life as a coward, constantly falling short of what you know is right, or to die a hero, fulfilling your moral duty? To fall short, or to fall in the line of duty? Camus's message just pierces through. High-minded thoughts, deep inner work, that's one thing. But what ultimately matters is what you do when the moment calls.
The powerful, maybe final insight is that stillness isn't an end in itself. It's a profound means to an end, to act bravely and virtuously in the world. Recognizing that true human flourishing, true eudaimonia, and lasting peace are found in selfless action.
Stillness isn't an excuse to withdraw from the world, from responsibility. It's a tool that enables us to do more good, more effectively.
The Buddhists and Stoics fundamentally believed we're born good. To be natural meant do the right thing. Aristotle called virtue in action eudaimonia, human flourishing. A person who acts selflessly, they inherently feel good, feel profoundly connected. They don't need artificial thrills to animate their body or distract their mind. Marcus Aurelius spoke of moving from one unselfish action to another for delight and stillness.
The Boy Scout motto, do a good turn daily. Simple but profound. Matthew 5.6 promises those who hunger and thirst for righteousness will be filled. Dorothy Day, the activist nun, consistently found comfort and purpose in helping others.
Nassim Nicholas Taleb put it bluntly, if you see fraud and do not say fraud, you are a fraud, and you will feel like one, so act bravely. Pick up the phone for that difficult conversation. Share your wealth. Run for office. Pick up trash in your neighborhood. Do the hard, good deeds. It will be scary, no doubt. But on the other side of goodness, that's where true stillness lies, that profound fulfillment. What one brave, virtuous action could you take today that would bring you a powerful sense of peace and deep fulfillment? And there you have it. A truly profound deep dive into Ryan Holiday's Stillness Is the Key. We've explored that timeless trinity mind, spirit, and body, seeing how each domain isn't just essential, but deeply interconnected on our path to unlocking true stillness.
From Seneca's struggling in ancient Rome to Tiger Woods' inner turmoil, from Anne Frank's quiet journaling to Churchill's deliberate routines, we've seen so many powerful examples. And the common thread, it's abundantly clear. Stillness isn't passive inaction. It's an active, disciplined, holistic cultivation across every single facet of our being.
It's about cultivating a clear mind, right? Becoming present, limiting inputs, slowing down, journaling, seeking silence, pursuing wisdom, finding real confidence, letting go. It's nurturing our spirit, choosing virtue, healing old wounds, guarding against desire, embracing enough, bathing in beauty, accepting a higher power, entering relationships, conquering anger, understanding we're all connected.
And critically, strengthening our body through saying no, walking, building routines, shedding possessions, seeking solitude, pacing ourselves, prioritizing sleep, finding hobbies, avoiding escapism, and ultimately acting bravely.
If we connect all of this to the bigger picture, the goal isn't just self-improvement, is it? It feels bigger than that.
Much bigger. It's about forging a more integrated, resilient, and profoundly happier existence, reaching that tranquil state where, as the Taoists might say, the muddied water in your mind finally stills and you can see right through it. Or like Marcus Aurelius described, being like the rock that the waves keep crashing over. It stands unmoved and the raging of the sea falls still around it.
That's such a powerful vision. It reminds us stillness isn't just about what you don't do. It's about what it enables you to do and be. We've covered a huge landscape today, from ancient wisdom to very modern challenges. The call to stillness, it often comes quietly, doesn't it? But it demands our consistent commitment.
Yet the reward, as Ryan Holiday so powerfully suggests, isn't just about elite performance. It's an attainable path to enlightenment, excellence, and profound, enduring happiness.
Indeed. And as we bring this deep dive to a close, maybe consider this provocative thought. If stillness truly is the key to unlocking so much in life,
what is one area of your life, mind, spirit, or body, where you could consciously choose to cultivate just a little more stillness starting today? And what unexpected, profound doors might that single choice unlock for you?
That's a truly powerful question to sit with, and one that resonates deeply. Thank you for joining us on the deep dive. Until next time, keep seeking those vital nuggets of knowledge and keep finding your stillness.
Thanks for tuning in to the Book Summary Podcast. If you found value in today's episode, hit that like button, subscribe for more summaries, and share it with someone who's ready to grow. Want deeper insights, exclusive book notes, and reading tips? Join our free newsletter. The link's in the description. And don't forget, if you'd like to read the full book, our affiliate link is right below. It helps support the channel and keeps the summaries coming. Until next time, keep reading, keep growing.